Well, it's Monday, February 16th, 2026. I'm Brittany Noble. Here's what's coming up on the breakdown. An alarming study is released about the chemicals in black braiding and hair extensions. Researchers are telling us danger is lurking in bundles. And a teacher makes a racist comment to a black middle school student, but there are mixed reactions to her statement. And black women are the most sleep deprived group in America, and it's having negative impacts on our health. Today, we're talking to a sleep doctor about how to improve our sleeping habits and get a good night's rest. The breakdown starts right now. Well, a new report by Reuters found that hundreds of judges across the country have ruled 4,400 times that President Trump's administration have detained immigrants unlawfully. This has been going on since October of 2025. Detained immigrants have filed more than 20,000 lawsuits seeking their release. Despite the court ruling that the policy was illegal, this has not stopped the Trump administration as arrests of immigrants continue throughout the country. Under Trump, the number of people in ICE detention has reached about 68,000 just this month alone. That's up about 75% from when he took office last year. Rap music executive, youth football coach, and free speech activist Uncle Luke Campbell says he's running for Congress in Florida's 20th congressional district in the 2026 midterm elections. If he wins, Campbell would replace Democratic Congresswoman Sheila Sherfilis McCormick, who currently holds the seat. This is not his first time running. He ran back in 2024. Uncle Luke is best known for making South Florida history in the 1990s when he successfully fought for free speech protections after law enforcement targeted his music as obscene. Campbell recently joined This Week in South Florida to discuss why he says he's ready to take his activism from the streets to Capitol Hill.
I looked at, really seriously thinking about running in this race. I had to do the work of going into the different communities to talk to people.
The congressional race.
The congressional race, CD20. And I wanted to take a real serious look at it and go into the communities and talk to people because, if you know anything about coaching, it's year round. You got to be a father, you got to run your businesses, but then you coach year round. So I didn't want to do the kids a disservice while I was doing that. And, hey, at the end of the day, once I did my due diligence, I said, let me come to Glenna's show and let her know I'm going to run for Congress for CD20.
In New York, the Burnt Hills Ballston Lake Central School District is facing backlash after a video recorded inside a classroom appears to show a teacher making a racist remark. The clip has been circulating online, prompting outrage from parents and community members. Well, a spokesperson from the Burnt Hills Ballston Lake School District released this statement in response. Late Wednesday afternoon, district leaders were made aware of an incident involving a substitute teacher in an 8th grade classroom. It was reported that the substitute teacher made a racially insensitive comment to a student that can be heard in the background of a Chromebook video journal being recorded for a class assignment. Upon learning of the situation, district staff immediately launched an investigation. Based on our findings, the substitute teacher was immediately removed from the district's substitute teacher roster. A Jackson, Mississippi city councilman is urging state leaders to step in and help Jackson State University build a new football stadium. Councilman Kenneth Stokes says the push is becoming urgent as the proposed expansion of a cancer center at the University of Mississippi Medical Center could require the site currently used for Mississippi Veterans Memorial Stadium. That's the home field for JSU football.
Have caused of varying sizes. You're looking at least an $80 million project more than likely, but really the purpose of the study is to get that true cost, to nail down those figures so we can really know what that investment looks like.
Mississippi State Representative Robert Johnson has reintroduced House Bill 117, which would provide $40 million in state seed money to begin planning and early development for a new stadium for the HBCU. If approved, construction could begin as early as July 1st, 2026. Johnson estimates the full project could cost around $250 million, with the remaining funding expected to come from corporate sponsorships, private investment, and donations. Well, a judge in New Orleans, Louisiana, ruled community groups in St. James Parish can move forward with a lawsuit seeking to pause new industrial plant in 2 majority Black districts. The case will now head toward a jury, which could decide whether this toxic concentration is connected to slavery. Many of the plants sit on land where enslaved people once worked sugarcane plantations, and residents are now facing cancer rates estimated at 7 times the national average. The lawsuit alleges parish officials steered polluting facilities into Black communities while shielding majority white areas. Since 1958, at least 28 of 32 industrial plants have all been built in parishes majority Black districts, with none approved in majority white areas in nearly 50 years. Research published in the Journal of Environment and Health found that Black hair extensions, braiding hair, and wigs may contain more than 160 potentially harmful chemicals, including substances commonly found in pipes, pesticides, and vinyl flooring. Scientists at the Silent Spring Institute analyzed 43 hair extension products, including synthetic hair and untreated human hair. In total, researchers detected 169 different chemicals, including flame retardants, pesticides, and plastic stabilizing compounds. The findings are especially significant because more than 70% of Black women report using hair extensions at least once a year. Well, history is being made in the St. Louis Fire Department as 5 Black women have been promoted to the rank of fire captain. Nicole McKinney, Jessica Jackson, Pamela Saunders Isaac, Elizabeth McCormick, and Teasley Tucker were all promoted in January based on their performance. For 3 of the women, the promotion comes after a long legal battle. They passed their captain exams more than a decade ago, but their promotions were delayed amid allegations the testing process was unfair. The women sued. They ultimately won. The St. Louis Fire Department says it hired its first female firefighter back in 1987. Since then, the department has hired only 33 women firefighters. 10 have been promoted to fire captain. 2 have risen to the rank of fire battalion chief.
Earned it. We prayed. It was hard. Dedication, preparation, inner fortitude to push through barriers that I did not foresee coming.
It is grueling. You give up your life for an extended period of time to study, to become better, to become a master at your craft.
Had to put everything into it to achieve this goal, and I feel like I did it because I wanted it badly.
You had to just give it all in. Our children suffered. They were like, why do you have to work 24 hours? Why do you have to study 24 hours after you get off work?
For them to promote 5 African-American women in 1 month is making history.
Well, remember, for more news, headlines, and in-depth coverage 24 hours a day, visit the Black Star Network. That's your source for stories that matter to our community. We'll be right back. You're watching The Breakdown with Brittany Noble on the Black Star Network.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
Hey y'all, welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Bria Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just two millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
Concern in America, the National Sleep Foundation is recommending 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night. But a study from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reveals that 45% of Black adults report getting less than 7 hours of sleep compared to 33% of non-Hispanic white adults. This lack of sleep has significant health implications. Research shows a strong connection between poor cardiovascular health and insomnia, which can complicate efforts to reverse obesity and a string of other diseases. Here to talk about good sleep practices and improving sleep hygiene is the sleep doctor, Dr. Christopher Allen. Thank you so much for joining us today on The Breakdown.
Thank you for having me. I'm just really excited to be here. And I always tell people, I'm just a guy that likes to talk about sleep. So I'm glad to be on the show.
Oh, well, we're excited to have you. Tell us what makes you so excited to talk about sleep.
Well, because the thing is that this sounds very cliche, but I always tell everybody this, sleep is important. In the world that we live in, the first thing that people will sacrifice is sleep. And it starts at a very young age. Like if you're in high school or even in college and you have that test and you're like, oh man, I need to know how to get the test down before it happens. What do people usually do? They'll do like an all-nighter. And there's studies to show that when you lack on your quality of sleep, that doesn't make your test scores better, and it doesn't consolidate that memory. And and definitely sleep is really important because people think about your battery on your phone. When you go to bed and you tuck yourself in, what do you do to that phone? You take that phone and you put it right next to your bed and you plug it in. Mm-hmm. What if you woke up and it's only at 30%? You go crazy. You're like, okay, why is this happening? What do I need to do to my phone? So I want people to treat their sleep like they treat their phone, because a lot of us are waking up at that 30%, that 50%, and we're not fully rested. And that, outside of just sleep disorders, can affect your body.
A 2022 review published in Nutrient highlighted that short sleep duration is a significant risk factor for weight gain and obesity, especially around Black people. Talk about that some more.
And I always tell people this, Mr. Sandman wants his money. And how are you going to pay him? You're going to pay him by sleeping. You need anywhere from 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And when you're not doing that, your body goes in chaos. There are inflammation that's in your body that can increase. When you're not doing that and your body's in chaos mode, guess what your body does? It holds on to calories. So holding on those calories and you're trying to lose weight, that's not going to be helpful. If you talk to any good person that's in the gym or a fitness director, they're going to tell you sleep is one of the parts that you need. You need that restoration. And it's kind of like washing dishes also, as well. Not only does it lead to like weight gain, and it can also lead to Alzheimer's because there's toxins that stay around because you're not getting that chance to cleanse it out of your body.
Well, the CDC shows that nearly half of Black adults get less than 7 hours of sleep. Why does that gap exist, you think?
There's many reasons why that happens. And, the first thing is that hustle culture is real. People live in this world to say that, like, if you're not grinding, then you're not living. But it's the opposite. You need that rest. Like your competition that's doing better, they're getting their good rest. And so that falls into that role. And, being that it is Black History Month, it is something that is systemic in our culture where, I told you need 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And then even all the way down to slavery, they were getting an average of almost like 4, maybe 5 hours if lucky. And that can be passed down. And another part of that goes into depression. And that's something that is innate in us, unfortunately. So that's why you have to make sure that you prioritize going to sleep. And then there's other factors at home where you get that revenge procrastination, where it's like, all right, the bed time for the kids happened. Now this is my time, even though I know I'm supposed to go to bed. And, and I've been guilty of that myself sometimes. So I have to keep myself in check. And so that's another reason why that happens as well, too.
And tell us in detail, what role do you think that stress and anxiety, the depression plays in insomnia?
Well, and a lot of people think that they do have insomnia, but sometimes it's just the regulation of your nervous system. If you're wired at night, it's not because you're wired, it's because you have not made it safe for yourself to go to bed. You haven't made it safe for you to get into bed and go to sleep. And that plays a role with it. And it happens over time. And you do things that just perpetuate that. And there's like cortisol within your body because there's 2 factors that help go to bed. There's like the melatonin and your sleep drive that'll help you go to bed. But then there's the opposite, like cortisol, that's your fight or flight, and that keeps you alert. And when you're going to bed, it's kind of like landing a plane. You're not supposed to like literally drop in bed. That's crashing. Like it happens before bedtime. So about an hour before bed, you stop going to the screens. You start winding down. You can read a book. I always tell people like you're not in bed unless you're doing 3 things, and they all start with the letter S. So if you're if you're sleeping, or if you're sick, and you know what that 3rd S is for. And so if that's not happening, you are not in bed. And so people are getting away from that. And so I think handling that sleep hygiene first can help along with that. And I always tell people that, outside of doing that, there's certain guides that can help you. I have guides myself and this is a shameless plug, it's on sleepdrchris.com, where you can look at that to help you guide yourself to getting that good sleep because it's essential.
And tell us, for people working long hours, shift work, multiple jobs, what are some realistic strategies to help us improve sleep?
Well, long hours, I'll start there. So if you work long hours, you still need to get that quality sleep anywhere from 7 to 9 hours. And sometimes it's just prioritizing that. So for example, a lot of people set an alarm to wake up. I tell people to set an alarm to go to bed. And like an hour before, like you can just set an alarm that says wind down time. And you're just like, okay, this is my time to wind down. This is time where I'm going to bed. You know, you can still watch something, but if you know that's a problem, you can read a book, you can get everything ready. You're gliding yourself into bed. Now, there's a lot of people that work night shift, and on social media, I reach out to those people as well because, you know, we live in a society where it's 24/7. And so there's people, great people that are working those night shifts, and you have to protect your sleep because you're working a shift that works against you. People get sick 30% faster when you're not prioritizing sleep. So when you're working that, you have to make sure that if you work the night shift, you still get that 7 to 9 hours. When you're going towards the end of your shift, you're limiting your coffee and your caffeine intake. You're limiting meals because as soon as you get home, you want to get ready so you can go to bed. And when you're going to bed, you want 3 things. You want it to be quiet, you want it to be cool, and you want it to be dark. And if you do that, that can help move that forward. And if not, then there's sleep professionals like me that can help you. And there's guys to help with that as well, too.
Oh, that's good information. Dr. Allen, how can we stay connected to you?
So again, Sleep Dr. Chris. And so if you put that in, Sleep Dr. Chris, you can find me anywhere. I'm on Instagram. So if you're on Instagram, if you're on Facebook, if you're on TikTok, find me, like and follow, and sleepdrchris.com. And I have some guides on there just to help you and give you realistic goals on helping go into sleep. Because you're hearing this, you're like, that's great, but like, where can I find you? What can you do? So that's where you can find me. And there's tools that you can start tonight to help with that.
All right, Dr. Christopher Allen, thank you so much for the information and for bringing it to us here on The Breakdown.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Ahead, in case you missed it, Bishop William J. Barber delivers a strong message from the Love Forward Together March. Coming up, stay with us. You are watching The Breakdown. Plus, have you come across any news stories that deserve national attention? We certainly want to hear from you. Please submit your questions. We do have a QR code. And of course, you can go to our website, blackstarnetwork.com. We'll be right back. You're watching The Breakdown.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
I'm Risa Colbert, and you're watching the Black Star Network.
In our Black and Missing segment, the family of Denisha Wilson is asking for your help. Wilson was last seen on September 20th, 2022 on the 40th block of South Main Street in Memphis, Tennessee. Police say she suffers from an illness that requires medication. Investigators say Wilson was last seen on surveillance getting into a white four-door sedan, possibly an Infiniti. She was last seen wearing a blue shirt, black leggings, and black shoes. If you have any information, please contact the Memphis Police Department at 901-636-4479. Well, in case you missed it, on Roland Martin Unfiltered, marchers for the Love Forward Together movement made it to Raleigh. Bishop William J. Barber II speaks to supporters about the true mission for the rally. Here's the speech he gave about the importance of assembling together.
We've all come here through great tribulations. Our minds are troubled. Our hearts are troubled. In many ways, we're heartbroken. Heartbroken in this nation, we continue to try to love and love, and we find ourselves saying what Langston Hughes once said, America has never been America to me, but I swear this oath that America will be. We come here with some anger and grief, not madness, but anger at the murderous assaults on the American democracy, the assaults on human decency that we've been witnessing with our own eyes, and we will not let anybody tell us that we're not seeing what we're seeing. More than anything, with all of that in our minds and our hearts, we've come here today in a spirit of love. And we've assembled in our yearning to come home, to wake up to a new country. We're not fighting for normalcy. We're not fighting to go backwards. We're fighting to go forward to the America that never was, but yet must be. And the living ingredients of our own history have taught us that the things do not have to be the way they are. Indeed, things cannot stay the way they are. As we gather here today, let us be reminded that in the 3rd century, when an emperor named Claudius, an authoritarian named Claudius, was hungry for power, wanted to put his name on every building. Talking about Claudius, who wanted to use his military to run rampant around the world, Claudius. And he wanted to use young men to wage wars when he himself wouldn't even fight. Claudius, who wanted to expand territory. He put out a decree against marriage for young men so that he could send them to war. And he thought that he could control love. Claudius reasoned that if he could maximize the potential of his people for war, if he could minimize love. But Claudius' plans were frustrated by a priest in Rome named Valentine, a bishop of the church who believed that love was more powerful than an empire's army. Yes, Claudius could marshal the resources of the Roman purse and the force of the Roman legions to impose his will on the world, but he found out that he couldn't stop love. Men and women defied him and kept falling in love. Claudius couldn't stop Bishop St. Valentine. He married people in secret and they came out in public. And in an act of civil disobedience, Valentine refused to cooperate with the emperor's unjust decree. Because not only can people in the military defy unjust decrees, we the people can defy unjust decrees. And he signed the certificates of their marriage. And on February the 14th, 269, St. Valentine was beheaded in Rome. Claudius used his power, used his wealth to kill him, but he still didn't have the power to stop love. 18 centuries later, we don't remember Claudius. There's no day named Claudius Day. No one recalls the name of the henchman who cut off St. Valentine's head. But every February 14th, we remember St. Valentine in the public square. This day, we celebrate also the power of love, is the day that Frederick Douglass chose as his birthday. He didn't know when his real birthday was because he was born in slavery. But he said, if I'm going to choose a birthday, I'm going to choose it, my brothers, on Love Day. And Douglass knew that the cold cruelty of American totalitarianism, he knew what it meant to be treated as property. He knew what it meant to be separated from his mother as a boy. He knew what it meant to be assaulted. But when things got bad, Frederick Douglass said this to the nation. He said, even though these things are happening, the time is now for us to intensify and embolden our agitation. He knew that people who claimed to own him didn't have the power to quench his mother's love. And so most of his life, he carried the memory of a sweet cake that his mother gave to him the last time he saw it. She made it in the shape of a heart. And he wrote with a rich, dark ring glazed upon the edge of it. She called Frederick her little Valentine. And that love kept him alive. That love gave him a heart for a country that dared to enslave him. My brothers and sisters, here we are today. And we live in a moment when the ruling authorities claim that might makes right. They claim that the Constitution doesn't constrain them. They're ignoring the separation of powers and defy the lawful orders of the courts and of the Congress. They've abdicated their moral responsibility to care for the poor by spreading lies about waste and fraud and abuse. They claim to do all these things. They call a bill a mega bill, a beautiful bill, when it is really a big, bad, deadly, ugly bill. And they loose their forces to shoot people down in the street. But we've come here today to say that the love in our heart will not let us bow anymore. We cannot bow to their vision of power, and we will not. We are here to love forward together. And coming after me are people that are going to talk about why we love and what we must love and how we must love. Yes, their troops are in the street. Yes, their masked men are knocking on our doors. Yes, they are now talking more about nuclear power. But we are here to remind them that love has proven down through the history to be stronger than all of this. And so, my brothers and sisters, here we are today. Here we are today, and today, since Wednesday, we've been marching. We started in Wilson, in the old district, Toby Fitch, that they've gerrymandered to steal and rob a seat. We started the day before the day early voting began, and we're here today to declare that when we leave here, we're going back to our communities across this state, and we're going to take love and organize everybody we know. And we're going to say to them, it's time to voice your love and vote your love and stand in the vitality of your love, because we need love to be victorious one more time. And so if you love seeing people out of poverty, it's time for us to love forward together. If you love seeing people make a living wage, it's time for us to love forward together. If you love to see the establishment of justice rather than the establishment of injustice, it's time to love forward together. If you're tired of seeing 87 million people either underinsured or underinsured, and you want everybody to have health care, it's time to love forward together. If you would rather see a nation put more money in public education, training our children's minds, than putting money in bombs to kill our people's future, it's time to love together. If you want to see a nation that recognizes that power is not supposed to be used to hurt and to beat people. But power is supposed to be used to lift and help people. It's time to love together. If you would love to be in a nation that cares about everybody, that believes that empathy is a virtue that we all should have, that looking down on people should only happen when you're looking down to pick them up. It's time to love together. On every street corner, on every step, down every tobacco road, through every cornfield, through every corner, through every road. It's time to love together. And let them tell us not what we can do. For we come from people like Harriet Tubman. She didn't have Snapchat. She didn't have email. She didn't have a cell phone. She didn't have social media, but she had love in her heart. She had a made-up mind. She had a strong constitution, and she got 700 people out of slavery, even though she had epilepsy. Don't tell us what we can't do. Our ancestors took on this nation before. It's just our time to take it on today. And while we're taking it on, I want to suggest, with just a little bit of preaching, that we ought to sing while we're doing it. And we ought to sing that song that never fails. We shall overcome. It was a song that came from the enslaved people's spirituals. It was a song that was sung in the labor movement. It's a song that was sung when Joan Baez sung it at the March on Washington. It was the song they taught at the Highlander Folk School up in Tennessee. It became the anthem of the civil rights movement. And the words teach us how we have to love. It says we, not I, but we. Look at your neighbor and say we. Black and white, we. Brown and indigenous, we. Asian and young and old, we. Gay and straight and trans, we. Baptist and Methodist and Christian and Jewish and Muslim and people who may not be of faith, but they believe in the moral arc of the universe. We shall. And it says shall, not maybe. In fact, you never change that word, we might overcome. No, it's we shall overcome. Why shall? Why shall? Why is it definite? Because in the Bible, in the Greek word, the overcome comes from the word nikos, which is that's like the word Nike, but it means to be victorious. Whenever you use the word overcome, it is a recognition that you will not overcome in your own strength. You will not overcome in your own power. You will not overcome in your own might. But if you do the Lord's work, you shall overcome. Oh, can I holler just a second? I don't care what they say. The Lord is my light, my salvation. Whom shall I fear? I don't care what they say. Who shall be against us if the Lord is for us? I don't care what they say. They that wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up on wings as eagles. They shall run and not get weary. They shall walk and not faint. Do I have a witness here? I don't care what they take from us. God shall supply every need that we have. The Lord is my shepherd. We shall not want. So I'm going to let the other folk talk now. But we shall vote like never before. We shall stand like never before. We shall overcome. We shall make it through this mess. We shall see a new day. We shall love forward. We shall overcome. We shall organize. We shall tell the truth. We shall see a new America. Do I have a witness? Yes, we shall. Yes, we shall. Yes, we shall.
Well, coming up after the break, longevity medicine is trending, but it's not just about living longer. It's about staying strong and mobile and independent as we age. A Black orthopedic surgeon will join us to tell us exactly what we need to know about prevention and long-term health. Stay with us. You're watching The Breakdown. And do you like the work that we're doing? Your support is critical to the work that we do here on the Black Star Network. You can support us via Cash App using the Stripe code. We'll put that there. It's in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen now. You can also help us with credit cards. Use the same thing. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo's RM Unfiltered. Zelle at RolandSMartin.com. Rolling at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. If you're old school, you can send us a check and money order payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Our goal is to raise $1 million by December 31st, and we certainly appreciate your support. We'll be right back. Stay with us. You're watching The Breakdown on the Black Star Network.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
Hey y'all, welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Rhea Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just two millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
Well, here is a conversation that we had for our For the Culture segment. Today on The Breakdown, we're talking about something that's been trending in wellness spaces, medical circles, and even celebrity culture: longevity medicine. But this isn't just about living longer, it's about living better. It's about aging with strength, mobility, and independence, and making sure that as we grow older, we're not just surviving, but we're thriving. And
You might have to start over again.
okay.
And restarted.
All right. We'll try last time. 3, 2, 1. Well, today on The Breakdown, we're talking about something that's been trending in wellness spaces, medical circles, and even celebrity culture: longevity medicine. But this isn't just about living longer, it's about living better. It's about aging with strength, mobility, and independence, and making sure that as we grow older, we're not just surviving, but we are thriving. And for Black communities in particular, this conversation is urgent because we already know the statistics: higher rates of chronic illness, higher rates of disability, lower access to preventative care. And too often, we're not introduced to longevity until after the damage has already been done. Joining me now is Dr. Brian Dwanunu, an orthopedic surgeon who works directly with patients navigating pain, mobility challenges, and the long-term impact of aging. He's also part of a growing movement focused on prevention and longevity-based care. Dr. Dwanunu, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, Brittany. I really appreciate it. That was a wonderful introduction.
So tell us, for people just now hearing the term longevity medicine for the first time, what exactly does it mean?
So, like you said before, this is a very hot topic right now. I mean, it's literally blown up. I mean, I've seen people talk about longevity medicine from conferences to podcasts to just, I mean, in my own office. And there are multiple different definitions, but I want to say the probably general consensus on what people feel is longevity are a function of two components, or what I consider two factors, right? There's the lifespan aspect of it, and there's the health span aspect of it. The lifespan aspect, I think, is what most people recognize, or your life expectancy. That's, are you alive or are you expired? That is, are you dead or are you not dead, etc. So it's binary, it's objective, it's more discrete. Most people are familiar with it just because of life expectancy in the United States and other countries, etc. The health span aspect of it, I think, is what most people are a little bit less familiar with, and it's a lot more complex. And like you said before, it's not just living, but living well. It's the quality of your life. The health span aspect of it is a little bit more complex. It's a little bit more analog versus digital. There's no real on and off. There's a little bit more of a variety to it. But I think it's very important, if not the most important aspect of it. And both of those functions together is what I feel like people are talking about when they discuss longevity medicine.
Now tell us about why it's important to build up your muscles.
So muscles are very, very important. I'm an orthopedic surgeon, so I not only treat, pathology of the muscles, of the bones, of the nerves, but I treat trauma as well. And for what I'm seeing, as the aging population continues to age and people continue to be more active, when they fall, if their muscles are not strong, they will break their bone. And unfortunately, their functional status after we do surgery, do the recovery, do the therapy, is nowhere near what it was before. But the best way is prevention. If you can prevent those bones from breaking, if you can prevent those muscles from getting weak, then your longevity or your wellness of life, if you will, can be longer. And so I'm a big proponent for resistance training. That's some weights. Doesn't have to be much, but it can be just a couple pounds, and it'll help those muscles get stronger.
What are some early warning signs people should pay attention to that suggest that their mobility may be declining?
So again, this is another aspect of health span that I like to speak about, is that not only is there mobility issues, but if you're having balance issues, if you're having stamina issues, if you're having issues with endurance, that means you're just not working yourself enough. It could be a function of maybe your cardiorespiratory function isn't best, right? You're not doing a lot of cardiorespiratory activities. Could be that you're just inactive altogether. And the muscles are unique in that if they're not active, they're going to turn into fat, or what we call atrophy. And some of those signs means that, you used to be able to walk around the block, used to be able to walk in your favorite grocery store. Now you have to use a motorized wheelchair, or now you have to take more breaks. Those are some of those starting signs that say maybe you're being a little bit less functional and your muscles are getting weaker.
Got it. So many people think that joint pain, back pain, stiffness, limited movement is just a normal part of getting older, but how much of that could be preventable?
I want to say 100% of it is preventable.
Mm.
Now, there are aspects of genetics that we just cannot help, right? If your mom is 5'2" and your dad is 5'3", you're not going to be 6'9". But, there are things that you can do earlier in life. And I like to use the analogy of, we're all kind of driving to the end of the road or to a stoplight, if you will. Of course, the closer you get to that stoplight, if you start to hit your brakes, you're going to come to a screeching halt, or you may go through the stoplight. And then unfortunate things can happen. If you start that braking, if you will, earlier in life, then you'll make a nice, smoother transition when it comes to that stoplight. And I like to say the stoplight is kind of the end of our life. So what is the braking? The braking is starting to work out earlier in life, starting to be active, starting to pay attention to your nutritional status, starting to take care of your emotional and your psychological well-being. All these things earlier in life can help to prevent that sudden screech or that halt, once you get in your 70s and 80s, so that you can be very functional. I want to say that, a lot of life is still predetermined as far as your genetics. There is a nurture side of things or an environmental side of things, and that can kind of vary 5 to 10 years of your life. But again, you don't want to be 80 years old and functioning like a 90-year-old. You want to be 80 years old and functioning like a high functioning 70-year-old. And that is what you do starting now.
Dr. Wanunu, we want to better understand what exactly should we be doing right now to improve our longevity?
So one, I really, 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 really recommend some type of activity. Now, we all don't have to be bodybuilders. We all don't have to run a marathon. We all don't have to go to the Olympics. Shout out to the Winter Olympics right now, right? But every minute to 2 minutes of activity is better than none. There are studies that suggest, you need about 150 minutes of physical activity every week. So that's about 2.5 hours. You can break that up over 2 days, over 3 days. But you want to be active in some way, shape, or form. That can be walking, that can be bicycling, that can be rowing. I love weight training because I like to, build muscle. But some form of activity 2 to 3 times a week for up to 150 minutes per week has been shown with data to help you to live longer, prevent injury, prolong osteoporosis, prolong just a lot of the issues that can come up with. One, we know that the number one cause of death right now is cardiovascular death, right? Or cardiovascular disease. And more aerobic activity, better food, better environment can all help to prevent that.
And if somebody watching right now maybe wants to invest just a little bit in longevity without spending too much money, any steps that you recommend?
I say this, take into account the 3 components of what I feel are very important in the health span of activity of life, right? So again, longevity component, 2 components. There's the lifespan, there's the health span. The lifespan, it's kind of predetermined. We know we have our genetics, we have our parents, we have things like that. There are things we can do to prevent that, like wear your seatbelt, go to the hospital if you have a antibiotics or bacterial infection, things that modern medicine has pretty much taken care of. But the health span aspect is what I really want to push, and that's being physical, or that's moving, that's watching your nutrition. So you need to have a well-balanced diet. And that's also your emotional state, because there are mental issues that can cause you to not do any of that. And if you can't control those 3 things, then it can be deleterious to your health.
Can we speak specifically to Black women right now about osteoporosis and bone density loss? What should women be doing especially to protect ourselves?
So one, what is the reason people become osteoporotic? They either are not active, meaning their muscles are weak. And if you have weak muscles, then the bones that attach to those muscles become weak. So some type of resistance training, physical activity can make your muscles stronger, which pulls on that bone, which makes that bone stronger. It's a process called mechanotransduction. If you can do some type of physical activity that includes weights, it can make those bones stronger. The other aspect of it is, what causes bone metabolism. That's vitamin D, that's calcium, that's phosphate. So you want to regularly check your labs, make sure you don't have low vitamin D or low calcium. And if you do, then you can supplement those. There are over-the-counter medications. There's things that are in your local pharmacies that can help with that supplementation. And then the best form of vitamin D is just the sun. Get out and walk.
Sounds great. Dr. Brian Wanunu, thank you so much for joining us today on The Breakdown. This is a very important conversation, and we certainly appreciate your voice.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.